Great, let's get started. Well, welcome to day 3, guys, of photography. First of all, before we begin, does anybody have any questions from the video yesterday?
Nope.
Oh,
I do.
Okay.
I made sure I took notes because I wanted to be prepared for today's class.
Alrighty.
Like through teacher's pet. Here we go. Okay, so I'm not a photographer by any stretch of the imagination. So I've been enjoying learning the words and the lingo and the things to keep in mind. I'd heard of the rule of thirds before, but yesterday you were talking also about visual weight.
Yes.
Things like eyes and light and how the visual weight is such an important part of the photo. And so and balancing that visual weight across the frame, which to me clashes with the idea of rule of thirds. So I was hoping you could clarify that a little bit.
So there is no right or wrong answer to this. Rule of thirds is just a simple guideline to be able to help you frame a certain subject in order to have like a better appearance of a photo. So for example, I'm on this side of the frame. So it kind of gives you the idea, and for example, I'm this side of the frame, but I'm actually I'm looking this way, right? So it gives you that illusion from this point of the frame to this side that there's a huge space and that I am looking in this direction. If I do the complete opposite, what does that look like?
Like you're about to leave it.
I'm about to leave something. So there's no like gap to give you that emphasis, like something's in this direction. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So rule of thirds, it's not necessarily like takes priority. It depending on the situation of the photo and what you're trying to achieve. Yeah. Does that make sense?
In the example of the waterfall and the girl, it was like split in both sides. So it's like, which side do you look at instead of reframing it so that either one or the other is the subject?
But when you put that with the idea, you said that the visual weight, the items with visual weight need to be balanced across the frame. Could that mean like balanced in 2/3 or balanced in 1/3, or is it balanced across all three?
Balance in all three. In a way. So if you go back to the video and watch the girl in the waterfall, you have to imagine when you look at an image, you only look at one thing at a time. So you have to remember, like, what is the first thing that you want people to look at first? Is it the waterfall or the girl? And for instance, in my photo that I took the girl as the priority. So therefore, that's why I had her move forward a little bit and have her framed up first. And you probably notice that it's focused on her rather than the background or the waterfall. But it's somewhat, you can kind of see the visual, the rule of thirds a little bit in play here.
Gotcha. Cool. Thanks.
Good questions. That's a really good question. Anybody else? If not,
Joseph, I didn't watch any of the videos. I'll watch it after this class. But if it's something, yes, I'll watch it. But if photography is something that like we want to get into, can we just like depend on our phone to do most of our pictures, or would you recommend just getting a camera?
Watch video 1.
Okay. Actually, I already did. I did when you showed it to me. Never mind. I answered my own question.
Okay.
So the answer is yes. Your phone works.
Yes.
Perfect. Whatever you have with you.
Yeah, whatever you have with you. It's, to be honest. Okay. We have a new person here, Eva. Thank you for joining us.
Hi, Eva. Welcome.
To answer that question, whatever you feel most comfortable with. If phone is like, you're okay with it, the images whatever you take images on your phone, if you're okay with it, that's perfectly fine. Now, if you want to be getting into more like photography as a hobby, or you just want it to achieve results that your phones cannot do, then yes, I would recommend getting a camera.
And our iPhones and stuff can do so much more than just, looking at a subject and shooting and capturing it. You can play with the, aperture and all that stuff as well.
Absolutely. So there's tons of apps out there that allow you to have these manual controls like a DSLR or mirrorless cameras. I actually have one right here.
Mm.
So if you want to like learn those effects, come see me.
Perfect.
Any other questions before we move on?
What is the app?
The app I use is called Moment.
Is it?
One more time.
Moment. It is a paid app. It's about $4, I think, on the App Store. I will mention all that later in the video. And I think it's tomorrow, Dave. Okay. All right. So let's go ahead and look at all the images that's been submitted today, starting with this one. Can everybody see the screen?
Mm-hmm.
Great. All right. Whose photo is this?
That's mine.
That's all right. Let's look at the composition here, guys. I think this photo has a good visual weight. So no rule of thirds is here, for obvious reasons, but it's okay because she's located, oops. I think, oh my gosh, why is it not working? Okay, I think this image, there's a perfect symmetry and simplicity right here. A good visual weight in a way would be applied here because she's directly down the middle. She's not in the lower third, but it has a good symmetry on both sides. You can see the humps. We can look at the humps here, the humps here. She's perfectly in the middle. And so I think that's a pretty good composition. Good job, Giovanni.
Lovely. I love all the colors.
Yes, lots of use of colors, symmetry. It would be nice if the pillow was on both sides.
Okay.
But it's
so go
good
buy
job.
more pillows next time you take a picture.
Or not there at all if you only have
Yeah.
one.
Yeah.
That's true.
Or she could hold it on her lap
There
or
you go.
something.
So who is this?
That's my roommate.
Your roommate. Nice. All right, so next photo.
Oh,
Ray Ray.
This is Ray.
That's my dog.
It's
And
a
that
good-
was this morning on our walk.
I think it's a good frame. Oops. Oh, why is it doing that again? So it's another good image of using rule of thirds here. You can see.
oh yeah.
Yeah. So Ray is on the right side of the frame using this line, the right line here. So why is this a good, so it's good that you notice that Ray is actually facing to the left, giving that little space here.
The other thing I liked about taking it in front of like this wall of wood was just kind of like the leading lines going like towards the subject as well, kind of drawing your attention towards her face.
And the texture I like.
Yeah. I wish I could have gotten less of the ground in it actually though, and more of like just the wood.
No, it's really good. We're just gonna move on.
Cute.
Different one. Looks
Same
like it's a
thing
different
this
angle.
one.
Yeah, same thing.
Yeah. The one thing also that I liked more about this one, like, so if you go back to like the first one, there's a little more in the shot that's like distracting, I think, kind of like the leash coming down. It's just more kind of unnecessary things in the photo. But then when you go to this second one, it's less attention on that and more kind of on her.
But her expression in the first one makes up for it.
I know, and that's why I still included
I
that
do
one,
love
'cause
all
I
these
love
lines.
that yawn.
Look at these lines right here.
Yeah.
Nice.
So when you guys are talking about like the balance and whatever, as a
Yes.
photographer, do you just take the photo like that, or do you just make sure you go back and edit it that way?
What do you mean? Oh,
Like-
the actual photo itself.
Yeah. Do you do cuts and edits so that you can fix the thirds or whatever, or do you?
So- Like for these ones, I tried to balance it and do all the composition and everything in camera as much as I could. That's going to be your best bet, because then you're not losing anything. You don't have to crop anything. All the pixels are still there. If something didn't come out like how you planned it, that's more when you kind of turn more towards the editing, I think, and you can crop and make things fit a little bit better if it's not what you were hoping for.
Mm.
But I would say aim to get as much as you can done with the camera itself.
No, I full support, agree with John. I would try to get whatever you can, try to get it right the first time. So that way you have to do less work in post-processing.
Yeah, you don't want to have to edit and crop every picture
Yeah.
on the post side.
All right. Thank you, John. All right, moving on to this one. Ooh, very artsy.
Dang, Josh, you took that last night.
I mean, I feel like I kind of cheated. So I took half of the picture last night.
Okay.
And it was just kind of boring, so I felt like I needed to do something else to it. So the silhouette part is what I took last night. I didn't have too much time. So I threw the other thing in there, Photoshop, so.
That's awesome.
Wow, very cool.
Did you take the picture of the stars too, or was that just an image that you grabbed?
No, yeah, I took that picture, would have been Friday night.
That's awesome.
Where do you live again?
Oklahoma.
Mountain.
Goodness, that's gorgeous.
Okay. Yeah. So you don't have a lot of light pollution.
Where I live, we do, but
Mhm.
we drove like 2 hours and there's almost none. So
Yeah, that's awesome.
Wow. Very cool. Very cool. Very cool. Thank you for sharing. All right, next we have.
This looks like a Monica special. Yes,
Yes, it would be.
I love it. The nature.
Yeah, I love nature shots. This is good. I'm glad the flower is slightly above of the, and then you can actually see the what is it, the stem? So I'm glad it's not always like centered like this. So you can actually see that it's an actual plant, not just like a flower itself sitting like that. So it's very nice. You framed it really well. I can see a little bit of rule. You used a little rule of thirds here a little bit.
I tried to. I was actually on my way home and it was like, oh crap, I gotta take some pictures.
No, so you did well.
Yeah.
I can tell.
Thank
All right.
you. Thanks.
Next one. It's another Monica.
That's another Monica shot.
Wow. I love hold on. Why is this working? I love this line. How it's like it's directing you directly to that building. This is a chapel, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, is that the new chapel or is that the
No, that's the whack.
WAC? Yeah.
Oh. Wow. It's very nice. I love how you use of lines here. Oops. Oh my gosh. There's lines here, lines here. So how you evenly post that.
And it's kind of off center just a little.
Yeah.
Which I tend to do. Which annoys some people, but that's kind of me.
No, so photography is an expression of yourself. So don't worry about what other people say. So whatever you think it's good.
But the crosswalk really grabbed my attention.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that.
It was like, yeah.
It just gravitates you to the building. Very nice. Sorry, I realized we're already halfway through our class, so we gotta move. We gotta move.
Oh.
Okay, so next. Oops. Wow.
I took these two, not last night, but
I love that it's
a really neat shot.
Yeah.
I love that it. Oops, not again. I love how this is just empty right here. It just gives a sense. I love how Laura here uses spaces, negative and positive spaces, which I mentioned, I think yesterday. So you can see there's a lot of busyness here, and lots of like horizontal lines here. Lots of horizontal lines. So that's a good example of using spaces, negative and positive spaces. Very cool. Ooh, what's this one?
Oh.
It was the Ballet Magnificent. Is that what it was called, Bethany?
Magnificat, yeah. Laura
Yeah.
went last night to the ballet. Don't worry, guys.
Okay.
Yes. You know, in quarantine.
Yeah.
So rule of thirds is, plays a huge role here. Obviously. It's like the ballet's on the left. So she's definitely moving towards the right, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is where,
I don't have it.
this is how rule of thirds is really useful here. Very cool.
How straight that leg is with that line too.
Yeah, it's so straight, but really cool.
Gorgeous photo.
Thank you. All right, next.
Oh,
Okay, admittedly, it's blurry, but I just loved it anyway.
It's very cute. Very cute.
was this taken with the what do you call it? The portrait mode on an iPhone?
Was, and she was wiggling, so it's, you know,
it's
doubly
okay.
blurry, but you know,
I think
lots of
it
flowers.
came out-
She's still super cute.
So I see this line here,
Yeah.
and it comes down straight like this. So I love how, yeah,
Just kidding.
I love how interesting this is looking straight at her here. Very cool. And looks like also Bethany used a little bit of rule of thirds here as well.
One of the things I think you'll notice kind of with leading lines too is like you may not notice or be planning to take a picture with leading lines, but it's just kind of one of the things that even your eyes are just kind of naturally drawn to yourself. So a lot of photos that people take end up kind of having those just kind of naturally in them too, which is really helpful.
Interesting.
And sometimes I can't see that when I'm looking through the lens
Right.
until like it's, you know, you actually have it on screen. It's like, oh,
Yeah.
wow.
Very, very cute, Bethany. Thank you for sharing.
Hmm.
Okay, one more.
Right. This one I felt was a little stronger as far as whatever, but there you go. Two composition.
Those arms.
Those arms. I love it. Again, perfectly how it's lined right there.
Hey, Don.
Oh. Yeah, you used rule of thirds again. Yeah.
It's really like the elements too, like him looking at her and then her looking directly at the camera too. It's like the focus is still very clear and intentional, which works really well.
I love how it's perfectly aligned. His glasses are perfectly aligned with his arm.
Yeah. Planned, 100% planned.
Very cool. All right, and the last photo is mine. I just took this yesterday, just before sunset. This is my dog, Cooper. Mine is just really simple. I just use, of course, rule of thirds here, and then also use a lot of positive or negative space to fill it.
That's amazing. So
That's
even
good,
though
But that your eye is still drawn to the sun, which is awesome.
feels like a spotlight right on Cooper though.
Yeah, not intentional. I just thought the sun was like directly behind him, so he's like, don't move.
I like the slight lens flare as well, kind of in there.
So even though there's all those trees in the background, that's still considered negative space?
It's negative space because like the subject is definitely on the dog.
And it's blurry, like
it's blurred. It's so the
Blurry,
eyes.
it's kind of uniform as well. There's not much.
Yeah. It's focused on him. Everything else in the background is blurry, which we'll mention in today's video about depth of field.
Yay!
Which in iPhone it's called portrait mode.
And it's fake, but it works.
It works. All right, so thank you everybody for submitting your homework, sharing with all those photos. Those are really great. I can definitely tell you guys watch the video.
Monica, can you mute your video?
Okay.
Oh, she's talking to somebody else.
Yeah.
Oh, we can. Okay.
Oh, you can do it.
We can
As
do
a
it.
host, you can, I think.
Oh, yeah, we can do it.
Please.
Okay. All right. So does anybody have any other questions about composition? What we've learned so far and just looking at everybody's photos. Anything that struck you, like got your attention? No? Okay. Okay, that was easier than I thought. Okay, so today we're going to talk about, in the video, we're going to talk about aperture. Actually the exposure. But the three things that we're going to talk about for aperture are, exposure are the three triangles of exposure, which is aperture, ISO, and shutter speed. So those three are very key ingredients. Unfortunately, without the manual app, you're not able to control these settings. But it's very vital. You need to know these to understand achieve like different photographies, what those effects can actually do in your photography. So like depth of field I just described earlier, how that can actually change differently depending on your focus length. It's very vital for like, especially in portraits, but also it can be very crucial in like landscape photography as well. So hopefully those settings will explain everything.
I feel like this is the class that's going to move us into like advanced photography. Beyond 101. You're starting to say words I don't understand.
No, but I will define each of those in this video, and I hope you have answers. But unfortunately, today's my last day with you all, John. Before this photography, I knew about this photography class. I actually planned a vacation, so I didn't know. Yeah. But don't worry, not to worry. I'm leaving you with the hands of John. And John is more than capable to be able to lead this class.
I will try my best.
Great. So we have 5 more minutes before the video starts. Any last minute questions?
Are we going to have homework today?
Yes, you are going to have homework today. You're going to try to do the best you can, even if you have to use portrait mode.
What's wrong with that? That's my go-to.
That's okay. No worries.
Can you explain it or can you clarify now so that I can start preparing for it while I watch the video?
What do you mean?
What's the homework going to be?
What's the homework?
The homework is going to be, you're going to have to try to achieve the three exposure techniques. So yeah, in your photo.
Okay.
So it's okay.
Jojo, you look like me, like, oh.
I just feel like I'm gonna fail this test.
You're not. There's no failing. Because our photography, I've explained this earlier, that photography is an expression of yourself.
Okay.
So don't worry.
But you'll get shamed if you use portrait mode, apparently.
It's in the. I would say this, like in the photography world, portrait mode has its pros and cons, but I think it's frowned upon.
Well, let me
by a lot of people.
So, because I don't have any sort of fancy editing software or anything like that, I can't get that blurred in the background.
I understand
like
that.
What my hand is doing right now.
So there are some things you can do to get more of like a photo like that as well without portrait mode. Like one of the things, well, obviously if you're able to get within the manual controls, you can make the aperture as wide as possible. But then like another thing you can do, sorry, I don't know if Joseph was trying to talk.
No.
But
go ahead.
Like if you get closer to your subject and make sure there's a whole lot of space behind your subject, that's gonna like maximize that kind of blurriness as well behind. So like, I don't know if this will do it really. No, not really. No, but like if the closer you are to the camera and the more space behind, the blurrier it's going to be.
I can also show you at lunch how to like work your camera phone a little bit, where you can adjust the light and darkness.
There you go.
Yeah. Perfect. I'm coming to lunch.
Come on.
I'm like, where are we
We'll
meeting
zoom
for
you in.
lunch?
We'll zoom you in, Monica.
Oh, there's already a study group for me. But Yeah, I'm going to explain the depth of field and all that well in the video, but you can actually achieve this effect with your own eyes. The background getting blurry is by sticking out your thumb like this, right? If you do that right now, and then you can and just have your eyes focus on that thumb. You can actually see the background getting blurry, and your thumb isn't perfectly in focus. The camera pretty much does the exact same thing. It's just you have to tell it. The camera doesn't know that you're trying to achieve that effect, so you have to tell it like, oh, I want to focus on this, and make that effect. And that's pretty much what aperture is. But you have to watch the video.
I can't wait.
So
Okay.
please, yeah. So please watch the video. If you need to watch it multiple times, you can. You have the option to do so. Write down any notes. If you have any questions, please write it down, and John will be able to answer those questions tomorrow. And don't forget your homework.
On the chat, if everybody can see the chat, I've posted the link again, and this is like the class website. I've been adding in I didn't do it from day one, but yesterday's Zoom call on there as well. So if you want to go back and review, and I'll do the same thing for today's, if you want to review what we talked about here, it'll be there next to today's lesson later after I upload it. And that's also where you can upload your photos. So it's all right there. Joseph, big thanks to you for all of your work in this class. We are learning and we appreciate it.
Will John be able to access that file where we upload?
Yes.
Yeah,
okay.
I'll get access to that.
Yeah. John, we look forward to being under your tutelage the next 2 days. But Joseph, we'll still see you in the videos too. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, of course. I'm there in spirit.
Have fun.
Thanks. Thank you, everybody.
Bye.
Everyone.
Have fun.
Tomorrow.
Bye.
Bye.